So we're going to start seated. We got Laura back. All right, I'm actually going to move up here a little bit. Okay, sitting upright here. So for me, it's a little easier to sit with a tall spine if I am sitting on something. So a bolster or a block, the edge of a blanket, like if you fold a blanket a couple times, makes a nice little lifting for the seat. And then once we find a comfortable spot, we'll allow our eyes to close. And then we're going to check in and see what we're bringing to the mat this late afternoon. So notice where you come in contact with the floor or any props. You can start at the feet or the floor and kind of work your way up and notice any sensations that you may have experienced here. Whether you deem them as a positive or a negative, try not to pass judgment or even necessarily pinpoint or label what's going on. Just notice it. And then if you want to set an intention or say an affirmation for class, or there's even like a little mantra that you could say to yourself, that I am safe, I am peaceful, I am relaxed. So you can say that to yourself several times. You can try to remember it and call it back up into your mind during practice. I am safe, I am peaceful, I am relaxed. And now we'll take our chin and we'll dip it down towards the chest, and we're lengthening the back of the neck, and you can kind of rock your chin side to side here. We're stretching the back of the neck. And then we're going to tilt our head so that our right ear is over the left shoulder, kind of head tilted to the side. And then you're lengthening through this left side of the neck. And you can even press your left hand down and away from the body. And make sure that you're relaxing the jaw. I just noticed that I was clenching mine. So see if you can relax. I am safe, I am peaceful, I am relaxed. And we'll tilt our head over to the left side, extending the right arm out. I am safe, I am peaceful, I am relaxed. And just a couple more breaths here on this side. And then we'll bring our head back to neutral. And then notice if you can kind of pull your chin slightly back. So almost like you're going to create some extra chins here. So the neck is long and the chin is back. So we're not crunching the back of the neck. That back of the neck is still remaining long, but the chin is coming in. And then we'll release, we'll soften. And if your legs are crossed, we're gonna uncross and recross so that your other foot is closer to your hips than the other one. We all have that one way that we sit. So now we're probably feeling like we're crooked or off to one side. It's nice to switch it up every once in a while. Okay, we're going to twist to the right. So we're going to look over our right shoulder and then gently twist around so that your right shoulder is facing the back of the room. So we're not going to pull ourselves around. We're not going to force it. We're just going to allow, kind of gently support ourselves in this twist. I am safe. I am peaceful. I'm relaxed. Just a couple more breaths here on the side. Try to maintain a long spine in this twist. And then we'll untwist. Sit here back in our neutral position just for a moment. Notice. Kind of be curious. Then we're going to turn to look over our left shoulder and then tilt the left shoulder back. Start to twist here, facing the left side of the room. Keeping that long spine. Just a couple more breaths here on this side. And then we'll start to gently untwist here. We're going to come forward onto the hands and knees, tuck the toes under, and then you can start to push your hands back towards your knees, kind of leaning back, maybe coming up to a toe squat here. So the toes are tucked under, and if this is really, really intense for you, you can be more upright like this. You can have your hands and be on your hands and knees more with the toes tucked under. So lots of options here. So toes are tucked under. You can be forward like this on your hands and knees. You can be upright. You can sit back. Another option is to Another option is to sit on a block or something between your feet. So we won't hang out here a super long time, just a little bit. Take just a couple more breaths here. This can be pretty intense, so if you need to come out, definitely. And then if you're not in your hands and knees, you're going to come into your hands and knees and untuck your toes. We're going to take the big toes together and the knees wide. Okay, so you can take a child's pose, a wide knee child's pose here. You can also lay on your back and hug your knees into your chest. Any kind of variation of this position, whatever works best for you. Now, if you are in child's pose, you can also place your forehead on the mat and gently rock side to side. Rock your head side to side, not just your body. So notice your breath. Notice the inhales, your belly expanding, your rib cage expanding, maybe pressing into your thighs, the floor. Maybe you can even notice the inhale filling up the back of your body. So your lower back, your upper back. And see if you can notice your breath expanding in all directions, towards the floor, towards your sides, towards your back. So we'll take just a few more breaths here. And start to lift the head if you're in child's pose. And we're going to take your bolster, if you have one, or pillow, and you're going to place it crossways on your mat, and you're going to lay down over it on your side. Okay, so it's kind of, your rib cage is over your bolster. You can rest your head on the floor, you could rest it on a block, you can rest it on your lower arm. And your other arm, your upper arm, can come over your head. It can be placed in front of you, wherever is comfortable. If your shoulders are tight, sometimes it's a little too intense to have your arm over your head. Maybe you play around with it, being up there for a little bit and then down. And keep breathing into that side of the body. We'll take just a few more breaths here on this side. And so you can start to move into the other side. So you might want to sit upright and switch, or maybe you want to just roll over. So figure out what works for you. And so I don't have to face away. I just move my block to the other side, or my bolster to the other side, and switch sides. Ooh. So you can prop your head up, or you can have your head on the floor or on a block. You can say to yourself again, I am safe, I am full, I am relaxed. Take a few more breaths here on the side. Now, as we start to come out of this one, we'll use our hands to push ourselves up to a seated position. We'll then put the bolster across our mat if it's not already there, and then we're going to lay over the bolster. So this time, I'm going to face you guys. So the bolster is across my mat. I'm going to lay with my belly over the bolster and cross my arms. So now here you might want a block for your forehead, but it's basically like you're giving yourself a hug with your head down, with your belly over the bolster. So your breath is being sent between the shoulder blades if possible. So you imagine the space between your shoulder blades expanding and rounding as you breathe. Your inhale fills up that space. I am safe. I am peaceful. I am relaxed. Good, now switch our arms so that the opposite arm is closer to the chest. Again, we're sending the breath between the shoulder blades, filling up that area. Just about a minute more here. You'll start to uncross the arms. Push back into either child's pose or take a tabletop position. You can take some cat and cow moves here. Kind of move side to side. Take anything that makes sense for you. So anything that kind of feels good. And the next position we'll move into when you're ready is a seated position with butterfly. So sometimes it's nice to have your hips a little elevated again. The bottoms of the feet are together and the knees are wide. So there's got to be kind of a sweet spot with the hips elevated. Sometimes too high is uncomfortable, sometimes too low is uncomfortable. And this can be a regular butterfly or a long-legged butterfly. So if you want a long-legged butterfly, your feet are farther away from your body. You can play around with the different types of butterfly. So this one here, my feet are farther away. I can try it again with my feet closer to my hips. You can hold here, or you can also fold forward. So when we're folding forward, we're hinging from the hips. We're not just rounding through the back. It's very tempting to round through the back. Imagine keeping your chest lifted still and then hinge forward so that the chest still stays up. The forehead stays up. Now, once you get to this point where, you've come as far forward as you can with your hips, at folding forward at the hips, then you can place your head, you can place your hands down and relax your head. But that's totally up to you. Now, if you feel pulling in the low back, it might be too much, and then come back out a little bit. I used to try to go as deep as I possibly could because that somehow made me better. And now it's like, it didn't do anything for me, just hurt. And it didn't make me better than anything either. It's funny when we try to compete when things aren't a competition. If you want to feel more supported in this position, you could have another bolster. You could place a chair in front of you and place your arms on the chair. That kind of position. We'll take just a couple more breaths here. I'm safe, I am peaceful, I am relaxed. You'll start to push yourself back up to a seated position. And then the next position is still seated. But in first, we'll do a counter pose, and you can bring your hands behind you, kind of arch the back, kind of bring the shoulder blades towards each other. Stick the belly out. Now we'll take the legs wide. And if you have to help your legs with your hands, go ahead. Nothing wrong with that. And we're going to flex the feet so that the toes are pointed back towards your body. So the legs are wide, toes are flexed, feet are flexed. You stay up tall here for a moment, and then we'll start to hinge forward again. So bring your legs as wide as you feel comfortable. And you can start to hinge forward. So again, if you want to be supported, you can have a chair in front of you. You can place your forearms on the chair with your head on your forearms. You have another bolster or something to place your arms on. This little ottoman I got at Joann's a couple of years ago is just like perfect for all of that stuff. Like the right height. And just like we did in the butterfly, we're hinging at the hips. So we're trying not to round through the lower back. So we're keeping the chest lifted and then hinging forward. It might not mean you're hinging very far. This is not my forte for sure. I find this very difficult to hinge forward. Some people can just place their face right on the mat. My stepson, boom, can fold right in half. If it's more comfortable for you to bend your knees a little bit, you can still have the compression in the hips without the tension in the hamstrings. If you're feeling it in your low back, maybe you come up more. Just about another minute here, not quite as maybe that long, but we'll take 6 breaths here. You'll start to slowly come up to your upright spine in your seated position. Place your hands behind you again. Open up through the chest and heart. Maybe push the belly out. You can also bend the legs and windshield wiper the legs. Just kind of bring the knees from side to side. And so take your feet mat distance apart, and you're going to let both knees fall to the left all the way. I'm going to take just a couple breaths here so we can be more upright. Sit up tall. We'll bring the knees back to center. Sitting up tall again, we'll let the knees fall to the right. We'll take a couple breaths here on this side. And then bring your knees back to center. Straighten the legs, and you can bounce the knees up and down. Okay, we'll then lay down. We'll lay down on your back. And we're going to hug the right knee in towards the chest. So you're laying back, right knee in towards the chest. You can have the left leg out long if you want, or keep it bent. And 3 times on this side, we're going to hug the knee in towards the forehead. So you're lifting the forehead off the floor, hugging the knee in, and then lower down. We're going to do that 2 more times. Hug the knee in towards the chest, bring the forehead towards the knee, and lower back down. And once more, hug the forehead towards the knee, knee towards the forehead, and then lower back down. So the knee is still held in towards the chest, but now your head is back on the floor. Just a few more breaths here. You can start to bring the right knee towards the right armpit. So you're opening up the right leg towards the right side of the body, and I'm holding on with just my right hand, kind of bringing it out to the right. Hug the knee in towards the chest again, the right knee. And we're going to bend the left leg, left foot on the floor. You're going to put the right ankle over the left knee. Your right knee points out. So right ankle over the left knee, left foot on the floor. So you can stay here and push the right knee away, kind of pushing that right thigh away from your body. That's option number 1. You can stay here, you can press it away, or you can reach through behind the left leg and pull the left leg towards the body. You can reach through even farther, reach for the left shin and put your head back on the floor. So your shoulders are off the floor, but your head remains on the floor. So find where you can find a little bit of challenge, but not so much so where you're clenching or gripping anywhere, especially not in the jaw. And then you can flex your right foot. You can flex both feet actually. So my little turkey here walking around keeps pecking me in the earbud, in my little headphone thingy, keeps poking me in it. He, she. Take full deep breaths here. You are safe. You are peaceful. You are relaxed. A few more breaths here. And then if we have the left leg lifted, we'll set the left leg down, the left foot down. You'll uncross. If you want even to take a moment and just lengthen the legs out long, kind of take a moment to relax here, a mini Savasana. Just notice any changes between the left and right side. Also too, it's a lot of compression that we just did in both knees and both in the hips, maybe even the ankles. The breath or two more. And we'll start to bend the left knee this time. So you have the option to straighten or bend the right leg, but the left knee will bring in towards the chest. We're hugging it in towards the chest. And 3 times here, we'll exhale, hug the knee in towards the forehead, forehead towards the knee, or knee to nose, and then lower back down. 2 more times, hug the forehead towards the knee, knee towards the forehead, and lower back down. And last time, hug it in, and lower it down. We'll now start to bring the left knee out toward the left side of the body. So I'm just holding onto my left shin here, bringing my left knee towards my left armpit. And now we'll bring the left ankle over the right knee. Feet are flexed. You can press the left thigh away. So pushing that left knee and thigh away from the body. You can reach through to the behind the right thigh, or right thigh, flexing the feet. You can reach through to the shin. So whatever feels good for you. Just a couple more breaths here on this side. We'll set the right foot down if it's lifted. Uncross the left from the right leg here. You can extend the legs out long again. Okay, we're gonna roll over onto our bellies. And you can be in a baby crocodile, which is your forehead on your hands on the floor and your elbows wide. You can be in more of a Sphinx position, So those are, the elbows are in front of your shoulders or directly underneath your shoulders. So the point of compression here is the low back. We're going to take just a couple more breaths here, and then we'll move into our counter pose. We'll start to lower ourselves down. So maybe that means into like a baby crocodile position if you're not there already, or you can bring your elbow, your left elbow to the side. We're going to bring your left knee up alongside the body. So this is our half frog. You can take a side bend here as well by bringing the left elbow towards the left knee. So the right side of the body is long. You're breathing into the low back, the area that we just compressed. Another couple breaths here. We'll start to bring our upper body back to the center of our mat. Bring our left leg back to meet the right. And we're moving into our baby crocodile or Sphinx again. So you can make it a little bit more intense by maybe bringing your elbows to directly beneath the shoulders. You can be exactly where you were before, that's fine too. If you want to add compression, you can bend the knees so the feet are up in the air. Do just a couple more breaths in this position. Maybe you take a moment to try to go a little deeper. Maybe the more intense variation, maybe you straighten the arms a bit, pushing yourself up more. Maybe you bend the knees if you haven't already. Just make sure you can still maintain a full breath if you move to a more intense variation. And then we'll lower ourselves down. Lower yourself completely down. You can bring your right knee up alongside the body. Maybe start to move the left elbow towards the right elbow towards the right knee. Taking the left side of the body is now the long side. So if your right knee is towards your right elbow, you're going to start to come back to the center of your mat. You can roll over onto your back. You hug both knees in towards your chest. And hug them in towards the chest. We're in a rock side to side. And you can even circle the knees. So that kind of changes the places that you're rolling on or rocking on here. And if you're circling the knees, change direction, circle to the other direction. And then you can take your arms out to a T. You're gonna set your feet on the floor, knees are bent. We'll take the hips out to the left and let's take your hips to the right and let your knees fall to the left. So you're taking a supine twist here. And if you want to kind of keep that twist going, you can look over your right shoulder. So we are safe, we are peaceful, we are relaxed. We'll bring our knees back to the center, bring our hips back to the center of our mat. You can hug your knees in towards your chest. You can windshield wiper the knees. You can circle the knees. Pick something that works for you, feels good. Feels like a good counter pose. Sometimes it's even nice to just take the arch out of the low back. So tilt your pelvis backwards and see if you can press your low back into the floor. It's good practice anyway. And now we'll bring our hips to the left and let your knees fall to the right, or opposite of what you did last time. Few more breaths here. We'll untwist. Hug your knees in towards the chest, circle the knees, press your low back into the floor. Any of those variations or all of those variations, totally up to you. Sometimes some pelvic tilts here, like cat and cow positions, basically while you're laying down, feels kind of nice or can feel kind of nice. So play around. And then we're going to move into our final relaxation pose. So you find the position that is the most comfortable for you. It could be laying on your side, it could be laying on your belly, it could be laying on your back with your knees bent. It could be having, what actually kind of feels nice if you have a chair handy, is placing the chair just behind your hips here so that your shins are parallel with the ceiling. So your calves are resting on the chair. That's really feels kind of good for the low back. So, pick any variation that you want. Get as comfortable as you possibly can. And we'll start to notice the breath here again. Maybe you're really good and you notice it throughout your whole practice. Maybe you need reminders like I usually do, or scratch that, how I always do. And I want you to breathe really deep. So you're filling up the low belly and the whole abdomen, the chest. So filling up from bottom to top. And then on the exhale, we just allow everything to soften. Just let the breath happen. Inhaling, we fill up bottom to top. Exhale, allow everything to soften. You can also start to lengthen the exhale as well. You can use a slight constriction, like the Ujjayi breath. You can find a way to breathe slowly out through the nose. And you can just release any effort in the breath. Find your natural breath. It take a little bit. I want you to bring awareness to your fingers and toes. Imagine them moving. And now wiggle your fingers and toes. Bring your awareness to your head and neck. Imagine them moving. Imagine your head turning from side to side. And now turn your head from side to side. You can start to make bigger movements, wrist and ankle rolls. You're still laying down. You can take a great big stretch, arms and legs extending. If you're still laying down, you're going to roll over to one side. And you'll slowly push yourself up to a seated position. We take our time, trying to kind of keep this feeling of quiet and peacefulness as long as we possibly can. And then we'll place our hands over our heart. And we'll thank ourselves for showing up and practicing together. And showing up isn't just like physically appearing into class. It's so much more than that. It's being present, being with the breath, being mentally with us in class. Some days it's harder than others. May we all feel loved. May we all feel grateful. May we all feel connected. And may we have the strength, courage, and balance to overcome any obstacles before us. From my heart to your heart, peace and namaste. So I'm going to stop recording.